Welcome to the Ziza Connection, episode 1, the podcast, the video experience. I'm here with my good friend Jason. Jason, how are you?
I'm doing very well. Thanks for having me back out to do this again.
Yeah. First time was interesting.
But a couple learning curves, as always, with any new project we decide to take on or attack, but always fun nevertheless.
Unfortunately, no one will ever get to hear that one.
It was really good.
It was. Cool. So I want to talk to you a little bit about what you're doing with Relentless Beats and just kind of catch up because we haven't talked in like 2 weeks.
Yeah.
It's like, what's going on in your world?
It's just wild for us considering we're usually back and forth every other day.
Yeah. So what's going on in your world? What's new?
Getting ready for Decadence. It's our New Year's Eve festival.
Okay.
We have Skrillex, Fisher, Diplo, Dylan Francis, and Mala back-to-back Chami, and of course Elenium, fan favorite there, performing on New Year's. So those are kind of the big names going on it, and then we got a lot of other great acts and talent performing as well. This year's was huge. We did a little over 25,000 attendees, so we're gearing up for another big year.
That's awesome. That's hype.
And it's fun. You got to come out and
that's exactly what I was gonna jump into just now. Actually, was talking about like.
Yeah, you got to see a lot of it yourself at Gold Rush. What was your experience like getting to see behind the scenes? So
it's kind of funny that you brought it. My experience was kind of based on your experience. So like the fun that you were having with it on those first day. Remember, we were sitting on the golf cart and you were like, "I'm at work right now. This is so much fun."
Yeah,
it's
wild.
My experience with it kind of was based around that. That kind of set the tone for the rest of the weekend. I had a great freaking time working on that.
Yeah.
I think partially because like my brain doesn't work to do the same exact thing every single day. Mm-hmm. Which is partially why I got so involved with Octave in the beginning.
Something new every week. You had to be something different every week. It's whatever 100%. the team or the brand needed. And it's much of the same going into Ziza here. It's, a lot of it's whatever the team or the brand or the idea of Ziza needs.
And what it grows into. I'm sure there were things with Octave that you definitely didn't see Octave getting involved with, that you got involved with.
100%. When opportunity comes, like you kind of just got to run with it and see where it goes and where it takes you.
Yeah.
Being stagnant or just kind of assuming things are just going to happen.
Doesn't ever work.
Nope. Just kind of being open to change. Was always something I believed and tried to install in the people I worked around.
And I think, through my last 2 projects between Inspired and Eyes, I definitely learned that. You can't have like a solid, stead path on where, like, you can't have a solidified end goal of what exactly it's going to look like. You can have that end goal and know where you want to get to.
Absolutely.
But I feel like there's always going to be some variation in what your idea of the end goal is.
That's
and what
everyone and everything in life, though. It's expectation versus reality. Everyone, no matter what it is in their life, has this big, grand expectation of what they draw up in their head. Few work for it, and even fewer live it.
Yep, 100%.
That, and the realities change because we can't control so many things in our world.
And I also feel like part of it is people start to feel that change and that little veer away from what their original path to their goal was going to be, and they get psyched out by it. They're like, "Oh, I didn't want to go this way." But they don't live it out long enough to see that it kind of crisscrosses and makes its way along the road.
And everything, the cliched thing, everything happens for a reason. But
super true.
Goes back to one of my favorite quotes: "If you can't control the wind, adjust your sail." We're not always going to be able to control the weather or the things that are around us.
Might throw you off course a little here and there.
Yeah, but we can always control how we redirect and how we choose to direct ourselves.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. Goes really well for events and for branding yourself and branding a business, starting a business, anything like
Everything, and it all things, like you said, they just intertwine and tie together.
Yeah, even being an artist manager, that was another step in that direction that you weren't planning on taking.
Didn't know that was going to happen.
We're not planning on it.
But you find a kid with great talent like Ekanova and has a quality just work ethic.
Yep. You get connected with a guy like Rel.
Yeah, and that's opportunity coming in and just running with it instead of being opposed to it.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, and I like to talk about it a lot, but like I feel like a lot of people just aren't ready to recognize opportunity. Not that it's not available. It's just it's not something that they've figured out how to see quite yet.
Absolutely.
It's like when you see a yellow Mustang, you say, "Oh, I really want a yellow Mustang." You're going to start spotting out every single yellow Mustang there is. where, you know, it was always there. You just didn't recognize it.
It's where your mind goes, everything follows.
Yep, 100%. So it's just an interesting take on like opportunity and how you fell into Relentless Beats through Octave and everything. Just life kind of works out interesting.
That's a whole other bag of stories for sure.
Oh yeah.
But you know, like I said, it was a great experience because I met so many great people through it, yourself included.
Appreciate that.
I know our story of how we met. You know, I found Inspired at the time on Twitter, saw the mission of the company, and I was just launching my brand, and I'm like, that's the mindset I want to work with. I want to work with people who want to empower others, who want to actively work to make the world a better place and leverage the influence and creation that they're able to put into the world for change and to better the lives of those around them.
Yep.
So that's what always, you know, attracted me to working with you, for sure.
You're always the one that's, you know, saying it's not what you do, it's why you do it that people buy it. And
absolutely,
that was definitely something as a, you know, 19-year-old that stuck with me up until this point where I am now starting Ziza and working on this project.
Yeah. And it's been fun being someone who's, you know what, I turned 27 here soon, 5 years older than you. But you know, it's been fun to watch your growth even as you watched me through the midst of mine, and even were there in the trenches with me on some of my growth, you know, starting a business with next to nothing, and some kids who had a good heart and wanted to make change and do something cool.
It's really that like guerrilla mindset, the guerrilla tactics mindset.
Oh yeah.
Kind of like jerry rig whatever you can, kind of like the sign and all these things.
That's
you know
good.
what I mean? Kind of jerry rig things together, and you just get things done.
And you just get it done.
Make sure that it's there at least.
Perfect is the enemy of done. Too many times we get caught up in, again, the expectation of perfection and chasing that, and we fail to ever complete or start anything.
And like, quite honestly, sometimes like whether it's working on something creative that's like physically, tangibly creative, or it's an idea, I find like a lot of the time you fall upon the better idea anyways. Like your starting point and what your goal is doesn't necessarily end up being the best version of that idea.
No, not at all.
You're like, you know what I mean?
I wish I could show someone the first version of the first movement before it was Octave. The first logo I made. It looks like someone made it on Kids Picks.
Yep.
Which, for those of you who don't know, is a 1990s software program for kids to design on. It might be a little older, it might be a little over some people's heads. I'm not sure.
I mean, regardless, it's just one of those things, like, you really don't know until you go for it. You really don't know until you shoot for it,
or until you fail at it. Then you learn, hey, I either am not good enough at this, or I could have tweaked it and done it better. Usually it's that latter of I could have done it better, and then it's the ability to get back up on the horse and try one more time.
Have you ever gone hiking? You've gone hiking.
Yeah,
out here,
of course.
Of course. Have you ever like tried to walk down a hill that was majority gravel and dirt, and like you start slipping?
Yeah.
You know, it's
like
it's like you think you got it, and then you slip and you fall and tumble down, but you realize you're already at the bottom when you fell. You know what I mean? It's really that idea of like failing forward.
Kind of figure it out. Absolutely.
Yeah, and that's all you really can do at the end of the day.
Absolutely.
Keep it pushing and keep it moving. So I want to get into a little bit of Ziza.
Absolutely.
Right, what we're here about and what we're starting with and what we're working on now. I want to know what questions you might have about what Ziza is. Like, when you look at it, based on what I've told you, is there anything that I haven't clarified for you?
I think you've painted a really good picture to me, and obviously why I'm here and want to be involved in it. You know, I'm looking for any opportunity I can to, you know, expand and grow and take something and create. I just enjoy doing this, and I know you're someone I want to work with. But I like the idea of the story of Ziza and where you're starting and what you're allowing it to be. Again, not talking on that end destination of what you expect it to be, but what you're allowing it to be. So, you know, what are some of the things you're allowing Ziza to become, and how's that growth going to look like with Ziza?
So when I started Inspired and I started Eyes, right, the whole concept of the logo where it was like an eye period, it was supposed to be a person. And then the period was supposed to be like just by themselves, just a person, anybody,
that's all we are.
An individual, right? And at the time, at 18, 19 years old, I was really struggling with the ideas of groupthink, right? Those were super difficult for me because I always felt like Tyler, the Creator, said it best, right? He said, I've always felt like a stepchild, right? In life, in school, everywhere I was. And that's really true to me. I always felt like a stepchild. I always felt like as an individual, I was very comfortable and felt like I knew who I was and I was strong in that. But in groups, I never really fit anywhere. And I felt like every cultural group kind of had like set standards and like ideals and ideologies, and it just never worked for me, right? I always picked and choose from different groups.
Yeah, you took a little piece that you liked from one,
exactly,
applied it to your being, took another one from another,
and just kept moving and pushing through and meeting people here
ultimately evolving and adapting as you move forward.
100%.
Mindset, everything.
Yeah. And I wanted to build a brand at the time that like kind of exemplified that. You know what I mean? It like gave those people that felt like they were stepchildren an opportunity to express themselves, because when you feel like that, it's not really easy to express your opinion.
Absolutely.
You always feel like the groups that you're around are gonna, you know what I mean, like give you pushback, never really have interest in it because they don't know what you're talking about, they don't care. So I wanted to give people a space for that, like give people an area to come and just like fully, wholeheartedly, without judgment, express their creativity and be who they wanted to be. Because Inspired was initially supposed to be a crowdsourced clothing business where I was taking designs from other people and kind of giving them an opportunity to
display their art, their creativity, and what was important to them.
And that's what Inspired was supposed to be. You know, at the time, it was a little bit more difficult for me to figure out how to do that and get marketing done and stuff like that. But it lends a hand to show what Ziza's turned into.
I think there's a little bit of eyes and Inspired in Ziza.
In Ziza, yep.
The good and the bad qualities of it all, because even with the tough stuff was the lessons that came along
100%.
with it, the learning, the growth. You know, so like I said, I've watched you go and try your different avenues into different things, and you're quite the journeyman when it comes to trying which is
things.
Great. But at your age, I think it's one of the most important things. There's not enough, you know, young adults or upcoming individuals I meet that are trying enough things.
Yeah.
You know, sometimes it's easier to figure out what you don't like than it is to figure out what you do like. And so many people get caught up in trying to figure out what they like and who they're going to become, instead of figuring out what they don't like and who they're not as a person.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. So yeah, I mean, Ziza really takes a lot of those ideals that were initially there for Inspired and Eyes about being an individual, combating groupthink, you know what I mean? And it's mixing that in with really just wanting to be as an open of a creative source for people as possible.
Absolutely.
Like no limitations on what we make, no limitations on the style. There's a lot of companies like Supreme can't go out and make everything. You know what I mean? Supreme kind of fits in its own box of style. There's limits. Same with Louis Vuitton, Gucci. All these different companies have a kind of a stylistic limit that they won't break because they know that's what their customers are expecting of them.
Yeah.
So I wanted Ziza to break all of those molds.
No rules.
For sure. No rules whatsoever, which lends a hand to the whole black and white and keeping that theme of like very simplistic overall design for the branding going, because black and white is everything and anything all at the same time.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I kind of want to keep that theme going and make sure that people know that what you see from Ziza might strike you, you know, as something super unusual or particular at some point in time down the road with the designs. Exactly.
Yeah, and you know, talking about some of the designs and creatives you're looking to bring on, what's your hope as far as the creatives you're bringing on? What do you want them to gain out of it? You know, what do you want? You know, what do you want the designs to be? What's that direction sound like?
So that's a really fun part for me. Because I know there's a lot of people, whether it be musicians or athletes or like an engineer or someone that owns a business, anyone that has an interest in clothing and they're really into like going shopping.
Well, we have to have an interest in it. We all have to. It's something you have to have.
To some degree or another, we do.
For the most part, yes.
Somehow, other nudist communities and stuff, but you know, that's a different story. I want to give all those people that have like an interest in clothing and like to go shopping and buying clothes and they always have nice fits, whatever it is. I want to give them an opportunity to come in here and actualize one of their garment ideas so that they can have a piece of clothing that they really made for themselves. They made out of their own, you know, ideals, their ideas,
of things
you know,
that
what they enjoy.
Valuable to them.
Exactly. And then the second side is making sure that I'm able to give them information and knowledge on the fact that you can do that 100%. Or as close to 100% sustainable as possible.
Yeah, absolutely.
So like making them aware so they can share that with their audiences in the future as well. You know what I mean?
It's just the way things are trending right now too, and it's nice to see more groups and companies out there taking an initiative on this
and utilizing it.
Yeah, and utilizing it. You know, it's one thing to not, you know, to contribute to the problem, but it doesn't, you know, it's better to not be a part of the problem.
100%.
You know, so if you can create a brand that backs that and follows those ideals, like that sets the precedent for those who come and join the cause of the brand.
Yep.
Overall.
So that whole concept right there, I'm giving the title of legacy threads, right?
Okay.
So like pieces of clothing that really have some like care, like real, you know, time spent behind them, made with care, limited quantity, so that you buy it and you really value it, and it's something you use over years.
It's not something that just got mass produced and
you
can
wear it and toss it out 2 weeks later.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I want to give people an opportunity to like have a relationship with the garments that they're buying and really.
And some people do have those. I mean,
it.
I know I have my shirts I haven't thrown out in
Exactly.
years.
Exactly.
Because, you know, my mom's always like, why do you have all these shirts? You don't need all these. I'm like, that one has sentimental value.
Yep.
And that one. And
Yep.
one time in that one, you know.
Yep.
So, yeah, I mean, we wear it as a part of us.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so I think it is very important to a lot of people.
So, like, with people like Steven, right, I plan to have Echo Nova come help make a garment of some sort. You know, giving him an opportunity to express his creativity, which we all know is more than fully there.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's apparent.
I mean, you know, even with art and his direction of
through
color,
his medium,
scale, and what
yep.
he wants his brand to look like in the story of Econova, absolutely.
Incredible.
He'd know exactly what he'd want it to look like. And
to give him an opportunity to use my medium to be able to express himself again is like, that's the whole goal for me with these.
And that was my goal in any business I worked in, and why I'm here exactly is to empower
100%.
others.
Yep.
You know, one of the hardest questions I ever got asked in business was brand yourself as a person in 2 to 4 words. I empower people. You know, so anytime I can jump in an organization or, you know, a cause where we're empowering others, sign me up.
Yeah.
And that's exactly what we're doing in our mentorship program right now at Saguaro High School.
Yep.
What we've been, how many weeks have we been there
I think we're
now?
like 9 weeks in.
9 weeks in. We're doing at-risk mentorship at Saguaro High School for some of the students there through a program called Teach One to Lead One.
Yep. Incredible group of people running that too.
It's been awesome for both of us, and you were my first call when we jumped into that project.
Oh yeah.
And it's been really neat. Even just seeing how much we're learning about ourselves and growing through working with these young adults.
Dude, every day we leave there, we have something new to talk about. It's like, wow, I didn't know I felt that way about the, you know, it's crazy.
And it just puts, you know, perspectives back in front of us that we need to pay more attention to. Yeah, we know them and understand them, but teaching them, you know, mastering a skill is teaching it.
Yep.
And when we're out teaching, you know, universal skills like respect, compassion, integrity, you know, things along those lines that just have been so missed in schools for so long. You know, it's awesome. We get to take something like that and go
super valuable stuff.
Things
super,
to these,
almost more daily usable things. I mean, they are more daily usable
I
things
still haven't found
the,
you know, I haven't had to use the Pythagorean theorem to find the hypotenuse of a triangle in God knows how long.
Is that what that was called?
I think so, yeah. I don't know. I didn't do too well.
Math wasn't my,
No, but respect and compassion and integrity, those are the things that propelled me in business to
100%.
Starting with $500 to working in my dream job 2 years later. But those were the skills that helped get me there. It wasn't math.
It wasn't at all. And it kind of leads into the whole idea of like the fact that people really just aren't socialized very well nowadays. It's just for a multitude of different reasons, be it, you know, social media, be it the way that we're taught in school, like whatever you want to call it. People just really aren't socialized well, and I feel like that's going to be the downfall of a lot of people. Not their intellect, but their emotional quality of living.
Absolutely, and you have projects in mind to enhance that with Ziza as well
100%.
Through some of these interactive nights you've talked to me about. So explain a little further on what you ultimately see those kind of interactive nights coming together and what your hope to attain with people out of it is.
The overall goal is just to get people talking more. Like just to get people like really engaging in conversation.
Get off your phone, come live in the real world, face to face in that moment.
Come be with us. So for example, the reason I called this the Ziza Connection podcast is because I expect to connect with each of the individuals that I have come on here in a way that, you know, maybe few other people in their life have been able to, just because it's an open conversation about anything. There doesn't need to be
there's no guideline when we walked into this.
Exactly.
You said, hey, let's talk about this. Let's talk about the things we're passionate about. Let's push our message that you and I both know we have so many similar mindsets on, and going from there.
And I want that to bleed over into these events, right? Whether we end up doing like a comedy night or a game night or like just a you know, a fun night at a bar that we all like, whatever it might be. Getting people in the room and taking their phones at the front door.
I did that to myself. I took my social media away from me for 2 weeks. Then I went to Sedona and took my phone away from myself for 4 days straight. And I came back revitalized, refreshed. I had a really great experience doing that. I think even just making a focus to, even eliminate that for 2 hours to be in the moment with people, because you can spend hours on your phone looking at all these other people's lives, and maybe for those moments you feel really like you're connected to it. Yep. But the second you do turn the screen off, finally you look around and realize you're alone. You look around and you're alone. So building real connection, valuable connection through in-person experience, I think is powerful, and an aspect I know I'm excited to see.
And definitely like really trying to implement the idea that like you don't need to take a picture or video of everything you're doing to make it memorable.
Oh my God, I was in San Diego over the weekend, and there was this poor seal on the beach, and instead of people getting out of its way so it could get back to the water,
everyone was snapping pictures.
They were snapping pictures with it, and it couldn't get back to the water, and the dude's just burning. Come on, it's so rough to see these days.
So yeah, just making sure like people aren't going to be able to have their phones at the events. You're really there to make memories, meet people, and hopefully another thing that I'm very keen on that I know you as well are over the last 3-4 years. Both of us have been down this road a multitude of times, but that's. Sometimes you feel like you need to get yourself away from the group of people that you're around. Yeah. And the difficulty in that, I feel like, isn't letting go of people. I feel like the difficulty really comes with the fear people have of being alone after they've gotten rid of those people.
Yeah.
So
some people keep themselves in toxic friendships, toxic relationships, because they're afraid to go be alone. Yep. I've watched it happen so many times, time and time again, and I've been guilty of it myself.
Oh yeah.
I think everyone out there can relate to that.
Yeah.
But sometimes the best things in our life happen when we do step out of our comfort zone. At the end of the day, it doesn't matter who's in your bed. We all go to sleep alone.
That's 100%
as
true.
Matthew McConaughey said in one of his famous YouTube videos. At the end of the day, the voice inside your head is all you're left with.
And being able to give people an opportunity to maybe curb that loneliness through these events, like come hang out, see who you might meet. And again,
you never know.
Anybody and everyone is welcome.
And look at all the friendships you're gonna meet you developed from coming to the first Octave meeting.
Oh yeah, I was a leech, man.
Yeah, you showed up just one time just to meet the team and check out. The next thing you know, we're like, all right, well, what role do we figure out for this guy? And what does he want to do? And you came on and were a creative director, and a lot of the skills you learned with Octave showed through, even helping me set up for Gold Rush.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Seriously, like it was crazy watching. I'm like, I've seen this all before, and it'd been probably months since we'd worked on
at least
any form of an event together. 7, 8 months. Yeah. But seeing you come on at that stage, just come on and pick it up like nothing changed. It was awesome to see.
Yeah.
It was fun.
That weekend. I know we keep jumping back to that, but that weekend was super exciting for me.
Yeah.
Because I love, again, working in places where I'm not doing the same thing all day. And that was a keen experience of like proving that problem solving and critical thinking are the two most invaluable skills that you may possibly ever be able
absolutely
to get.
For any job. I was thinking when I came into music industry, like, I can't produce music. I couldn't build a website. I didn't know how to make graphics, nothing.
But you could solve a problem. You could think critically about it.
I could think critically. And if I couldn't solve it, I'd go find someone who could.
Yeah.
And that's the big thing in any successful business or structure in life is just solving problems.
Yeah.
All the $1 million ideas you look at today, we're all solving a problem. What are some of the problems you think Ziza solves?
So, beyond just being able to solve the issue of like loneliness and creative like angst, I feel like is a good way to explain it.
Yeah.
Solving that for a group of people, again, is just like being able to give people a place to feel comfortable. You know what I mean? Providing them. I'm one of those people that like loves to watch the making of videos of anything, whether it be like
behind the scenes,
like clothing, like musicians, like watching a musician's face like light up when he's doing something, or like the process that he's going through developing a song or whatever it is. That really, really, really inspires me, and I have a difficulty finding that kind of content on the internet.
Yeah.
So I want to solve that issue, right? I want to bring a lot more content like that, a lot more super genuine, really behind the scenes, so people can see what it takes.
Because people just see the result. That's right. No one sees the what it takes. And that's another great thing about you starting this so young is there are going to be those hurdles and humps you're about to have to jump and get over, and you've experienced some of them on your other ventures, and this will be no different, just like anything we take on in life. But absolutely.
Yeah. So really, really solving that issue of like bringing better content to people in general.
Yeah.
I've said a lot of the time that, you know, the social media is not the issue. It's how we're using social media.
It's the stuff we consume.
It's what we're consuming.
Yeah. People call it bad, but I mean, like, you know, I go on my Instagram feed and like, I
get pumped every day, man.
Yeah, I got Gary Vaynerchuk, Young Hustler accounts on there. Like just some of the stuff, you know, or I get a quote or I see someone doing a good deed. I follow a lot of nonprofits.
And you're getting pumped all day.
Yeah, I'm like, look at these people doing good things. And like, imagine if the world, you know, if CNN and Fox and all them just went and started sharing good things happening and people doing the right thing. So often in anything in life, we try to catch people doing the wrong thing instead of catching someone doing something right.
Oh yeah. And
that was the day I figured out with Octave was, you know, I tried my best to figure out how to catch people doing the right thing and then glorify them for it in front of people. It's the best way to build positive reinforcement, and other people are going to see that and go, hey, I want to get in on that, and they'll go work hard too.
100%. That all really comes from like the intent the intent behind the business. Absolutely. In the first place too.
Yeah.
Because without that intent, you know what I mean? If someone who's going into a business specifically for the profit purposes of it may not think about the people involved with their organization in that way.
Well, and at the end of the day, the people are the organization.
100%.
You know, any brand, it is a living, breathing existence of those who create it and those who keep it alive. Yeah. You know, it's the same as a child. You know, you're a living, breathing organism of your parents, and you know, in most cases, your parents are the ones keeping you alive. So you are a living, breathing example of that.
Of what they
install in your teaching. That's why we all have so many different upbringings and backgrounds. In a lot of ways, I know we've talked about it. Ziza is like a child.
It really is. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Do you want to elaborate on that a little more of how you see it like that?
Yeah. So Ziza's supposed to be a person, right? An individual. Again, leading back to the old inspired and eyes ideals of an individual. And you know, Ziza, like we spoke about earlier, is going to grow into whatever is needed of it, you know, as it goes through its path. It knows its purpose. It knows its why. It has its reason.
It has its North Star and like its general direction.
Yep. And everything that follows from here on out is going to be the lessons of figuring out what it needs, what things does it need to fill to reach that ultimate goal and that ultimate why and that purpose.
Absolutely.
And you know, also visually speaking, in a branding perspective, you can expect to see Ziza or this, you know, figure, being, person, whatever it might be, kind of as the branding ideal. Ziza as a person.
It might not be black and gray in 10 years.
You never know. It could be anything, and that is Ziza. Change is exemplifying
What's
what Ziza is.
Quote? I think might have been Winston Churchill. To improve is to change. To perfect is to change often.
I like that. I haven't heard that before.
I want to say it's Winston Churchill. I'm not sure.
Possible.
Yeah.
So coming from your perspective, right? You obviously having 4 or 5 years in age on me.
Yeah.
You started Octave when you were how old? 24?
I was right at the end of 23 going into 24, and it was Movement at the time.
Okay.
Prior to rebranding and continuous Octave, and I ran it from right about when I turned 24 until a couple months after I turned 26. So I'd say overall probably 2 years and three or 4 months probably.
Okay. What was the first thing that you learned? Like, what was the first really hard-hitting lesson that you learned in that journey?
Oh, God.
Because I know there had to have been one, like, right in the first year that just really struck you.
The rebrand, learning operating agreements and how to properly file an LLC.
The legals.
And, you know, just becoming a real legitimate company. You know, at first I was just a kid with a party bus and trying to get people out to the party bus and out to the festivals and home safely, because I was just trying to solve a problem
that you had,
which I had. I went to my first festival, paid $85 to get home in an Uber. Next festival I went to, I said, I don't want to do that again. I'll get a party bus, invite some friends, you know, and that whole story.
So tell me a little bit more about that. I guess you could say in today's world there are a lot of fake entrepreneurs, a lot of fake businessmen.
Bios.
And you know, owner of this and owner of that, and whatever. Talk to me about the importance of really developing that like real business mindset and figuring out financial problems and legal things. What is the importance of that really?
It's beyond important, because, you know, if you're not in good standing with the government legally as a business anywhere, like, or anything, like you're just not going to survive. Like, it's not set up that way. There's certain things you got to follow and just know and go out to do. The other thing is just getting good advice from the right people. You know, a lot of people will go get mentorship or, you know, get someone who's trying to make a buck off them and steer them completely down the wrong path. But it's doing your due diligence to know who you're working with.
Really doing your research on the people,
yourself
man.
And the people. You
Google
know,
can tell you a lot about the speculations about a certain individual before you start working with them.
It takes, you know, like I said, it takes one bad app. You know, it takes one bad apple sometimes, and it can ruin a whole team, organization, or whatever it might be. And you know, I had to learn some hard lessons with my first business partner and kind of that falling out there, just difference in ideals. And the biggest thing you learn is resiliency, though. No matter what happens to me, no matter how bad this gets, I'm just going to make the choice to try one more time. Yeah. And that was the biggest thing I learned, is to just try again.
Like the game's not over until the buzzer goes.
I mean, the only way to fail in life and anything is to quit. If you quit, you lose. Yeah. As long as you're still in the ring trying and you're not knocked out yet, you might have a chance to land a punch and
win that. Yep.
And win that.
Come out as underdog and like, you know what I mean?
All it takes is one good punch sometimes. And we delivered that with one of our biggest events.
I was just about to bring up how that fits perfectly into that story.
And that's what it was.
Down to the buzzer, man. Yeah. Down to the buzzer.
And you know, even that event with the block party we threw in March of 2018, it got canceled 2 days before the event. Yep. So like,
you could have folded right then and there.
Could have folded right then and there. Easy to give up. No one would have held anything against me on the team because it was out of my control. But I just started problem solving. Yeah. You know, it's like, okay, what problem can I solve first? Yep. And then you solve one, you solve the next. You know, it's about looking at walking 10 feet up the trail instead of saying, how do I get to the top of the mountain? Just walk those 10 feet first. Yeah. Simplify it, execute it, and then worry about the next 10 feet there.
Yeah. What's the next thing I have to take care of, and so on and so forth.
So worried up and worried about everything they have to take on or everything that's coming on them. All you do is stress yourself out, shut down, get anxious and nervous, and that doesn't do anything.
You can't build any momentum that way. There's no way to build momentum. Yeah, simplify regardless of what you're doing, whether it's studying for a class or anything, trying to build a business and get an event done.
Yeah, you just gotta simplify things and just attack what you can get done and just work like hell.
I wasn't really good at physics, but wasn't it like the hardest part of motion to get the hardest part of motion is to break friction first, something like that
to get going.
It fits perfectly.
And that's what I always tell people when they come to me is like, oh, I have this great idea. How'd you start your business? How do I start? I'm like, just start.
Just go.
I made a company email address to start. It cost me $0.00, but hey, the idea was tangible. And that's the thing in business compared to being a creative, like an artist or something. Like, you know, this whole time you're making this painting, but there's nothing physical for you to look at.
No.
At all. You know, like there's some online presence, but we can't grab it. It's not tangible. Yeah. You know, so that's another hard thing I think in business where it creates a new thing is like you're putting all this effort in, but you know, how much is tangible?
So I want to talk on that because that's a really interesting point for me. Because I've always been interested in creative things, right? Like I acted a little bit in high school. I was always super into music. I used to play the guitar. Creative stuff always interested me, but I never found myself to have like a talent for creative
an innate ability for it. Same here. I can't 100%. Paint. I can play guitar a little bit.
Yep.
From lots of YouTube. You know,
I'm not very good at like production, like not even when it comes to designing the shirts and stuff like that. You know what I mean? Not necessarily my forte. And I found that building a business was the creative that I was looking for.
It's its own painting and its own way.
Exactly.
You know, you need to have certain shades here and certain colors here. Those might be people. Those might
building
be
out the
marketing.
Schematics, doing things like that is the creative process that I was looking for. It just fits into a different realm than what traditional creativity would be thought
Absolutely, yeah.
And
it's
again,
its own creativeness.
The whole like idea of empowering other people, right? Through me wanting to be creative and build this business, I can give a designer the opportunity to come in here and spend his entire life designing, doing whatever he. So it really is just like it's a system.
It is.
It's all a system. Systems are dope.
I love me some systems. That was
systems are dope.
And that's what you learn about business is it's a series of creating systems. Yeah. You know, you create a system so one thing works and then you know the results you're going to get from it. Yep. Then you move on to the next thing to enhance it and you create a system for that and so on.
And it's all how you feed it too. So again, it all comes together so well.
Yeah, it's a person. It's a person. You gotta feed it with good people. You gotta feed it with your
good
energy.
Nutrients. It's like everything it needs to grow and build and be what it needs to be.
Yep.
Yeah. you can never really decide what a kid's going to look like while you're raising it. But like, as long as you give it what it needs to grow, it will grow to its full potential.
Yeah, it has a chance.
Yeah, that's super, super important. Super dope. I think it's great that you were able to find your way into the job of your dreams.
Yeah.
And you did it horizontally.
Yeah,
you got yourself integrated in a way a lot of people hope they can in their future with the businesses they're interested in.
And it was different for me. A lot of people, like, and it was funny. I fell into the same trap. I went to my second music festival and I said, okay, well, I want to go to the festivals for free.
Yeah.
I emailed and said, hey, how do I sell tickets? I'd like to be a promoter. Never heard back. And right then I could have just quit and said no, but then I'm like, okay, well, I got this party bus, and eventually you run enough party buses to save up, and I'm like, okay, well, I can afford a headliner and rent a venue. Like, why don't I throw a show? I got all these people coming on the party buses. They might show up to a show. Who knows? Let's try it. That goes, and then that works out, and then you're like, okay, well, let's do it again. And how do we make it a little bigger? And how do we get a bigger artist? And how do we make it more fun?
All of that experience gave you the opportunity, though, to be able to come in and say, like, hey, I have this knowledge and experience to be able to fulfill the needs of this job.
Being able to put my own business and the things I learned from it on my own resume to apply for a new career blew my mind. Because prior, when I was working in the corporate tech world, because that's what I did full time when I was running Octave, I never put Octave on my resumes. It wasn't on LinkedIn. I didn't want any corporate companies to know that's what I was doing. And then now I got to go use it to apply for a full-time career that I have now.
Yeah. I think that's super important, man. Like, even if your projects don't work out, having Inspired, having Eyes as things that I worked on and gave my time to.
And the things you learned from them.
And the things I learned from it, let alone, Octave and everything I did there, the people I met there. All of the experience, that tangible, real life, in the moment experience is so much more about, not a chance. And like, so I feel like there's a shift in the business world coming over the next, 10 years that will really actuate. But like, I feel that shift of business owners and of employers looking for those kinds of people more than they look for the degree or they look for the GPA, and that shift is already starting.
It's coming right now, absolutely. I mean,
so it's important.
I finished out my degrey, don't get me wrong, and college served me well in a lot of ways, but I could have gone into my first SaaS sales job without a college degree. I didn't really use any skills I learned in school to start my business. It was all self-taught, and I started educating myself more after college. Yeah, I started reading more books, more podcasts, but it was about things I enjoyed and things I wanted to learn about. When we start to strive for that growth outside of what's being pressed upon us,
becomes much easier to carry it out.
And that's where the real growth occurs, because you find something you truly can catch on to, that you love and
you care about.
Yeah. And that passion always drives you through anything. That's when, as the book you gave me, Think and Grow Rich, when your desires are so strong, you have to have that stupid desire. Yep. Otherwise you won't be able to overcome hurdles when they get there. And the reason I overcame the hurdles in my business career was because I had the dying, burning passion to get done what I needed to get done. Yeah. And like I said, I think that's you with Ziza here, and that's why I wanted to get involved right out the gate.
I love how we brought that to a close right there. That was nice. Yeah, I think I want to hear what you have to say about this first. If there's any 1 minute, 60 seconds worth of information you can give someone who's listening to this, who feels like they haven't mustered up the confidence quite yet to get going with what they feel confident about. Mm-hmm. Does that make sense?
Yeah,
you might feel confident in your idea, but you don't feel confident enough in yourself to start. What are you going to tell them in a minute?
The things that are holding you back are the weeds. Roses will not grow from your garden while there are still weeds in there. If you do not clear the people in your life that are holding you back, that are not encouraging you, that are not empowering you to go chase what you want, if you're harboring those people who hold jealousy, who are self-centered, who aren't living with good character, good integrity, well, guess what? You're stuck right where they are, and your idea is never going to be good enough, because it's not good enough for them, and that's who you hang out with, so it's not going to be good enough for you. That's
what's going to enforce.
Clear the weeds out of your life. That's when we all flourish in anything, and it all starts there.
I love that. I love it. Yeah, I mean, I feel like throughout this podcast, we've talked a lot about different things that are super beneficial for anybody who's on their personal growth journey, or starting a business or whatever it is. But I really, really just want to emphasize both that idea and the fact that you really need to hone in on your problem solving and critical thinking skills if you plan on making any progress on anything. Even when it comes to personal development, we hit roadblocks in our thinking, in the way we're thinking about something we might need to take care of, and that's what stops us from carrying on a good habit or carrying on with breaking a bad habit. So being able to be critically thinking about how you're thinking about things, it's kind of meta, right? Self-awareness, exactly.
Absolutely.
It's super meta, but that's what it breaks down to is being able to critically think about your thoughts.
And
being able to solve those problems you're having within your thoughts.
Within yourselves. We all face problems every day. If we're able to break them down and then attack them with a good intention,
you're already winning right there.
You're already winning right there.
Yep. Well, I appreciate you for coming on, dude. Thank you for spending the hour to come and hang out.
Stoked to go on the journey with this, and excited to see what Ziza grows into, and stoked to be around it and be a part of it.
Appreciate it, dude. All right, so we will catch you guys in episode 2. You guys can expect to see this show airing once every 2 weeks for the first 2 months. Hopefully get some other podcasts stocked up and in the bag ready to go, so we can upgrade that to a weekly podcast with the video, get this stuff uploaded on Apple Music and Spotify, I believe, are the 2 we're going to try to work for.
Let's see what it goes into.
And we'll talk to you guys in the next one. Thank you, and we'll catch you later.
Thanks.